Okay. Yeah. So we were talking. So it's funny you were talking about break the cycle.
Yeah.
Which is like in Dave Smith. Which again, good. I shouldn't fine.
Yeah.
Just everyone's so fucking boring. It's crazy. I don't even, and even the guys that I again good. They're pretty good and funny on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So this Reed Coverdale guy. I don't know if you ever.
I know. I follow him.
Good. Says funny stuff on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Same with Liberty Lockdown. Pretty good. Says funny stuff on Twitter. Yeah. It's you get them on a mic and they're just so fucking it's do a bump or something, man.
Right.
What is going on? Why why?
Well, I think that
why doesn't it translate to
I think a lot of these dudes are especially when you look at a lot of dudes doing the Unity Coalition, they're
sure.
A lot of them are in the streets. You've got Magnus is doing
sure.
a lot of activism. Reed is in the streets a lot. A lot of them are doing they're putting their money where their mouth is. And they're not just behind a microphone.
Absolutely.
So I think it is worth saying, but
it's definitely worth saying.
Yeah. So I give them a lot of credit for that. Even if they're not the most dynamic behind the mic, they are doing what was Dave Smith's speech, Liberty in Action or whatever?
Yeah, sure.
Go out and do it,
yes.
right? And they're going out and do it, and I have a lot of respect for them for that.
Definitely.
But I feel like a new clique is forming.
Okay.
A Liberty clique is forming.
Okay.
And you're totally permabanned,
dude,
right?
It's fucking madness.
So you wouldn't be seeing any of this right now.
I know. I'm gonna try to do it again. It's funny, just kind of again. Life kind of. And I know it's so simple as but I've made 3 more. I think I wonder now if it's my actual phone now.
Yeah, I mean
more than because what it was is I was successful with the third one. I tried to change because people recognize the Dany Clasic handle now, and even
they'll find your handle and ban you.
Yeah, and that was stupid of me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was I shouldn't have gone back to that.
You need a new name.
I know, but that's very much indicative of the problem of this kind of big tech unpersoning. Mm-hmm. It's no, you can't exist.
Yeah, you don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a new name.
Yeah,
and a new follower,
and that's
and new
wild.
Everything.
I mean,
it's nuts, man.
It's funny. Turtle Boy always kind of mentions it. He always says and I think he's pretty much right. He's I invented cancel culture. I've been taken off of Google. I've been he was all that shit happened to me in 2015. Yeah. Is his argument, and he's gone through 30 different and he currently even still has he has Turtle Boy Phone, Aiden, TB Daily. He has 5 different names and handles across different. I think he even mentions he's I can't have one. He's I have to have this one on my phone. I can't have that one on my phone. I have to have this one on my computer. I can't have this one on my computer. Yeah. Because they so specifically.
They'll especially the ones that make you verify your phone number.
Exactly.
They'll track your phone or your local IP. And eventually, once you get a couple bans, they'll just fucking hard lock you in.
Yeah, it's just so anyway. So I got to get back on because I was in the problem. So it's funny. So I went on this one guy. So this guy Austin Archaic Skids. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I follow him. He follows me.
Yeah. So I've been on his show twice.
Yeah, I saw. I didn't watch the show, but I saw you were on the.
And it was funny because I thought I'm pretty confident the first ban was from. I think I've told someone, I forget. I called Marjorie Taylor Greene or someone. I called him a cunt.
Yeah.
And then I think I got a 12-hour suspension or whatever. And again, it wasn't, the funny thing was it and it's why I specifically mentioned the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing is I'm not I don't care who it is. You know what I mean? It's just funny. And it was it was to make me laugh. I would even do it. I would call Dave Smith a cunt.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Again, to me, free speech absolutist, I don't care, whatever. But it was just highlighted that because it's so the point is, I think that first ban, and then I followed it up with retard, and then I followed up with faggot.
All the naughty words.
Yeah.
All the naughty no words.
So it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So I said that, and then whatever. And then the next one, I'm not sure why it happened. And it was funny because I went on Austin's show, and I was I think I probably just said retard again or something.
Yeah.
And he was now I think he's great, and I like him. He's a nice guy. I think he's, I think he thinks a little too highly of me because he was like, well, no, what you're doing is you're connecting the dots between sort of a conservative perspective and like a libertarian ANCAP perspective, and Twitter, etc., sees that and doesn't want these people talking to each other. And I think that's I think he's giving me a little too much credit.
I think that Twitter doesn't need to like provoke any animosity between them. I think there's enough there already.
Yeah.
I think that the anarchy libertarian Twitter and conservative Twitter already hate each other.
Well, so this is so it's the opposite. He's saying I'm like bridging the gap.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And that's what's dangerous.
No, I know that's what he's saying.
I'm like, I'm kind of flattered by that.
Yeah.
I don't think I had. I was good though. I was up to like 400 followers. Like it was pretty much. And again, I had
back on, bro.
And I had like the reads reaching out to me and going on this guy's show, and Magnus was whatever. Because I think they were respecting. They were like, I don't agree with you. You know, because I talk about the shit, you know, the God stuff and whatever. Like I don't agree with you, but like you're funny. All of it comes down to like, and I even like so that shoe lady.
Yeah, shoe on head.
Right,
yeah.
like. She's like a communist. Like I don't like, you know, but like she's funny.
Yeah.
So like I'm, as long as you're funny and like you have a little bit of humility and a little bit of like this is all like retard brain stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm down with you. Yeah. You know. But it's funny because Austin was like, no, dude, like you take like he's like, I know you're not a Republican, but you talk like a Republican sometimes. And I'm like, yes. And when a Republican talks to people, like that's bad. And you know, and again, I'm like, I don't think I'm that whatever.
Right.
But that got me thinking. I was like, wow, that's pretty fucking interesting.
Yeah, I think if we had a bigger platform, there'd be something to that.
Yeah.
But I just think that there is such a rift right now, especially like with midterms in 2022 and with people geeking out about who's going to run in 2024 and with Mises taking over LP. Yeah. Like conservatives are scared.
Yeah.
They are scared that like the 3% to 5% LP could become a 5 to 7% or like a 7 to 9%.
They should be.
And they should be. No, they absolutely should be. And like,
that's where I am. Right. I mean, I'm totally we talked about this.
Yeah.
Like
and I don't think it's gonna I don't see much unity coming out between like GOP and
definitely
Liberty.
not.
I don't see it at all.
Well, what's really
and I mean it makes sense that you know Skids would say like that what you are doing is dangerous. I don't disagree with his premise.
Yeah. Right.
I just don't know if it would be enough.
I know. Yeah.
To overwhelm.
No, it's totally not. I mean, let's be serious.
Like, what's the guy who was? Is it? I'm gonna fucking get his name wrong. Pedro Gonzalez. Who's on Tucker all the time.
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking about.
The GOP that is left, not even the GOP, the MAGA party, right? That's left post Trump. Like the people who might have voted for Trump might not, but they realize that like they're still right wing.
Yeah.
Whether they like Trump or they didn't like Trump, whether they thought Trump was good or they think Trump failed, they all recognize like the GOP is dead. Right?
I think so.
They all realize the GOP is dead. But they're definitely not going to go Democrat like the neocons, right?
No,
they hate the neocons. They hate the Democrats. They hate the left.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go libertarians because the libertarians aren't down with the culture war.
Yeah.
Right?
Immigration specifically.
Yeah, well, immigration specifically, but there are some other issues, you know, also, critical race theory,
drag queen story
hour, trans kids. There's like... And they have some good points, man. And the libertarians have some good points with, like, China.
Oh, yes.
Example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the right-wing people with their, like, the China hawks, like, they don't have it right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'm a pessimist, right? I kind of just see, like, the libertarians and this kind of right-wing populist movement destroying each other in the next couple of years. And, like, they really got to find a way to bridge this gap. And unfortunately...
They do, that's right.
They need to find a way. And unfortunately, what we're seeing, right, as sort of a reaction to the center-right, almost like left-wing neocon corporate Republican GOP, we're seeing...
The Koch brother GOP.
Yeah, the Koch brother, Bill Kristol, Mitch McConnell GOP.
Right.
We're seeing the people shift more right-wing. We're seeing parents get red-pilled. by critical race theory in their schools. We're seeing parents that aren't political, that aren't into race stuff.
And local state governments.
Yeah, and local state governments. You're seeing parents shift way more right-wing.
Yep.
Parents who might have been right-wing because they wanted to own guns, and they might have bought into some of the war empire propaganda.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That now they're not really into it, but they're pumping propaganda on their kids.
Yeah.
Now they're back in the fucking game.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
And what happens then when we have a libertarian unity caucus, right? Which, sure, Mises is Austrian economics and free markets and is kind of more ANCAP. But when you take the unity coalition, which I think libertarian unity is good because the infighting has destroyed them.
It's definitely good.
Since the 80s when everyone left.
It's made them a complete non-factor.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think we could all argue it's moved to more of a left libertarian.
It has, and
party,
that's a.
How do you reconcile that with a more populist, right-wing, culture-oriented Republican Party? I don't even want to call it a Republican Party
because it's not.
Because these people hate the GOP.
I know.
They hate them.
Yeah.
They like Abbott in Texas. They like DeSantis in Florida.
You're talking about me.
I know.
Yeah. Like it's me almost not exact.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't like. In our.
This is already a good episode. This is already a better fucking episode.
Yeah,
it's crazy. See how we give a shit? And
and we can sit around and we can read fucking gay books and talk about theory and I love that. I have all the books. I read them all every day. It's great, but that doesn't do anything for a guy who works 60 hours a week and his kids are getting indoctrinated and he's getting fucking ripped off every week in taxes
all the time.
You can talk to him about Rothbard and all of your speakers
right.
And I love them and I think their ideas are great. But you're not going to convince working class guys with the high school education of anarchist theory.
Absolutely. Right.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And at the same time, I don't want to give carte blanche to the statists and the authoritarians on the right wing who, if given the opportunity, they would go back to the religious GOP of the 1990s, right? They would go back to that, and they would do it gleefully. And when they got criticisms from the libertarians, they would say, well, what do you fucking expect? They had Drag Queen Story Hour 10 years ago.
And also,
And you know what?
You're useless.
That would resonate with a third of America.
Completely.
And that's a terrifying prospect.
Absolutely.
Because that turns the clock back 30 years.
And
all of the bad actors who have sort of manipulated that culture divide to enrich themselves and get bigger platforms will just do business as usual. Right? And you have grifters on each side who are looking to just boost the follower count or increase the bank account, right? And the people are caught in the middle, right? And so many people are going to say, I don't fucking care about your economic theory. I don't fucking care about your immigration race propaganda.
Right.
I just don't want my kids to be propagandized and I want to pay less taxes. How do we do that? How do we do that?
Yeah.
And some guy's going to get on the stage and he's going to lie. And he's going to lie and he's going to lie and he's going to lie and he's going to lie.
Right.
And then he's going to win.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be business as usual.
Right.
And the libertarians are going to be jerking off over their fucking ANCAP books. And the GOP is going to be jerking off over their Bibles. And then the left is going to run away with it again.
Absolutely.
And people are going to say, how did they win after Joe Biden was president for 4 years?
Yeah.
And that's fucking terrifying.
It is.
That's terrifying.
Well, and so when we talk about unity and the phenomena that you're speaking of, falls on an ideological plane, and it's predicated on the fact that there are where it starts is ideological differences, which is but where it has to start from a populism and also from a mechanical perspective is it has to be non-ideological.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, I don't care about your Rothbard, I don't care about your Adam Smith, I don't care about your Edmund Burke, I don't care whatever. I don't even care about your Thomas, even the mainstream ones. I don't even care about your Thomas Sowell or your whoever, or your Bill Bennett. I just care about, I want to be able to vote and walk away. I don't want to be a culture warrior. I don't want to be an intellectual influencer. I don't want to be part of this ideological battle for supremacy, because ultimately all we're talking about, even from, you know, the true libertarian, the true ANCAP, you know, is kind of like an agorist.
This is what the agorists talk about.
It's like the degrees thing, which is what unity is about. Is am I pronouncing that correctly?
What?
Agorism?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm asking.
Yeah.
So the agorists make a ton of sense, but you don't need to live in the woods and print guns and never vote to not be ideologically and process driven.
Right.
You can still live in a town. You can still sit on an HOA. You can still join associations, and you can still participate from a social fabric perspective and not be fed into the federalization ideological bullshit.
I mean,
so it's like you don't have to go all the way.
Yep.
It's like, why, you know, it's like, hey, I think the process sucks too. I'm not gonna, if you want to live in the woods, like, terrific, but the number of people who are going to go live in, you can't build a coalition of people living in the woods.
So exactly.
Like,
and
that's
so you know who makes
stupid,
a good argument. He's not an agorist. At least I don't think he's an agorist, based on what I've read and listened to of him. He makes a good counter argument to that is Tho Bishop. He did a debate with Dave Smith recently. I didn't know who he was till I listened to him.
What does it say it again?
Tho Bishop, Tho Bishop.
Tho Bishop. Okay.
And he's a DeSantis supporter in Florida.
The people who hate DeSantis, give me a fucking break.
And he debated Dave.
Like, just shut the fuck up. Honest to God.
He debated Dave essentially that DeSantis' anti-riot bill, right, is fundamentally anti-liberty, right? And Tho is a DeSantis supporter. And we're seeing what you just described at local levels with people like DeSantis and Abbott.
Absolutely.
Right? We're seeing it with the people in rural Oregon who want to secede to the greater
Make
Idaho project, right?
Make Idaho, Oregon again.
And here's the thing, if the people in Oregon want to leave, and you're seeing a lot of pushback from the other areas in Oregon that don't want to let them leave, right?
Because they
because they hate you. They hate you and want you dead, but they'll settle for your submission.
Well,
right?
they hate you, but they also need you.
They don't want you to leave and admit that, like, one, you can, and two, they need you, and three, their system is so broken that people can just choose to leave and succeed somewhere else.
They hate you, and I don't want to derail you because you're going somewhere really well or really good. I'm gonna amend the "they hate you and want you dead" to "they hate the fact that they need you."
Yeah.
They actually don't want you dead because they're fucked without farmers.
They don't know that.
Who build infrastructure.
They don't even know
people
that.
Who do.
They don't even know that.
But that's what they don't leave though.
Yeah.
And that's why they all of their
I think climate change
basic instincts.
I think climate change is going to end the world in 20 years. That's why I live in a big city, don't have any practical skills, and work a white collar job.
That's right.
These people don't know where their food and water and infrastructure.
This is what I mean. But then once you threaten them with leaving, they're like, oh wait, what?
Yeah. I don't even think it's from a practical. It's not from a practical perspective. It's not from the if these people leave, who's going to give us all our stuff? It's these people can't leave.
They're
not allowed to leave.
Yeah, right.
We're all a country. We all voted.
Yeah.
We all 6 of us got together to vote to beat the 4 of you up. You can't leave. You can't just decide to leave the room.
Right.
We voted to lock the door and beat you up. You don't get to leave.
Right.
That's what it is. It's like a pathological fucking abuse. It's not a infrastructural practical decision. It's what we were just saying. You have to put like your
go back to the DeSantis thing.
Yeah, right. So we are seeing.
What was the debate, by the way, or how did it go?
I mean, I think Tho made some very good points, which is like when you are in the face of like anarcho tyranny, right? Certain measures need to be taken. To ensure people's safety.
You can't die along your ideology all the time, every time.
If you presuppose, I will say I didn't watch the whole debate. I watched like a clip from it in the first few minutes. I need to go back and watch.
Was it a good one? I mean,
it was good. I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to analyze the whole thing because I didn't watch it. I don't want to sound like an asshole. You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I try to watch stuff.
Was Dave sympathetic to that?
No, Dave was against it. Yeah, no, Dave is.
Well, I don't mean. Did he understand? This is also where did he understandably disagree, or was he vehemently
So Dave's standpoint is people who who are in violation of the riot bill, if they're arrested, they'll get hit with a felony, which means that they're going to lose a bunch of their other rights. They're going to lose their voting rights, they're going to lose their gun rights, they're going to lose a bunch of other rights.
Right.
And it's a disproportionate punishment
for
exercising their First Amendment rights, even if they're blocking roadways and doing things that aren't necessarily peaceful protesting, right?
Right. But you're not protesting anymore.
I agree.
This is what we're talking
about. If the fucking police would move people out of the road, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But they arrest the people who get out of their cars to try to get people out of the way.
Exactly.
That's why this is happening.
It's backwards.
Okay?
It's totally backwards.
If the cops didn't stand on the side of the road because their supervisor tells them to stand down, because their supervisor tells them to stand down, because their supervisor's a chicken shit and doesn't want the negative press, it wouldn't be a fucking problem.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But because that's not happening, the governor has to step in and say, you know what, this is fucking over.
This is crazy.
Done. This is crazy.
Yeah.
If you don't get out of the fucking road, you're going to get hit by a car. And if you don't get hit by a car, you're going to get fucking arrested.
Yeah.
And that gives the officers permission. They don't have to worry about their lieutenant. They don't have to worry about their captain. They don't have to worry about their chief. They don't have to worry about their fucking commissioner. And they don't have to worry about negative papers in the press calling them fascists. Because they're going to get them anyway. They're going to get them anyway.
Right.
They're going to call you fucking baby-killing racist fascists anyway.
Absolutely.
So what do you want to do? You want to nuke your support with the only people in America left who still like you?
Yes.
The only retards who still put Blue Lives Matter stickers on their cars?
Right.
You want to nuke your support with them?
Yeah.
You fucking stupid, dude.
Yeah.
So, like, only people who are going to be dumb enough to think you're their friends when you come to confiscate their guns?
Yeah.
Fucking idiots, dude. So you do have some pushback with people at the local level saying, no, we're not going to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. You have, like, the sanctuary cities a few years ago in, like, Virginia that said, no, we're not doing this new gun laws.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, like, you as a... I'm on my Twitter it says reluctant anarchist.
Right?
Because
sure.
I don't have faith in the current institutions and systems and national security apparatus to be a national populist, which is what I want to be. I want to be a national populist. I love America. I love America.
Right. Yeah.
But it sucks right now. But at the end of the day, like, you can have your agorist community, you can have your ANCAP community, you can have, if we can spread anarchy to even 10% of thought leaders, that'll get downstream to more people. Michael Malice's book was just like the fucking #2 book on all of Amazon. He outsold every American president on Amazon who sold books on Amazon. That's great. I love that. I think it's awesome. At the end of the day, they'll roll their tanks into your homestead. What do you do then?
Right.
And I understand, like, tanks and drones don't enforce curfews. They don't do confiscations. They don't do contraband checks. They don't bust into people's houses. They don't round people up. I get it. But they can find your homestead. Like, an unmanned drone can fly over thousands of miles of land. Like, and what happens, when a right-wing or a left-wing government, it doesn't really matter, like, what ideology you subscribe to.
Certainly not.
Like, what happens when, like, say a fascist right-wing government comes in and they say, all right, we're done with the libertines. Like, we're done with the libertines. Like, their inaction is what allowed, like, the crazy tranny left to take over and cut their sticks off. Like, we're done with the libertines. What happens then? What happens if the socialists take over and they say, you know what, we're done with these fascist libertarians that want free market economics that oppress the workers? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go out in a blaze of glory? That's great. Power to you. What about everybody else? What about the 40-year-old guy with 2 kids who doesn't read all your gay books? What about him? Do you just not care about him because he doesn't protect his natural rights? Because he doesn't appreciate property rights and the non-aggression principle? Do you actually care about people? Or do you just care about your gay books?
Well, my compromise, not compromise, my way out is like whatever DeSantis is the closest thing I have to showing how the infrastructure is like 2% redeemable. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll even put it at that small.
I would prefer reform over destruction.
Absolutely. It's Article 5 over Boogaloo.
Yeah.
You know, I would definitely rather Article 5 than Boogaloo.
I would too.
And I think if you really sat people down, that's what people would choose.
That's right.
You know, like it really is.
And I think the Boogaloo people, and I love them. I think
they're
fun. I think they're great.
Totally.
You know, whatever.
Yes.
I think they're kind of a mirror of, like, the the leftist anarchists.
They're absolutely more similar than they are different.
Yeah, and they will say it themselves.
Yeah,
like the Unity Coalition people are like, no, we hang out with Antifa and BLM and we march together.
Yeah, they have
like,
the BLM and the Rose and all that.
Yeah, all
nerdy shit.
all that other stuff.
But you know what? Unity's about me being like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. You are. So they're more similar to their ideological mirror counterpart than they are different. And I'm more similar to them than a
neocon fucking war empire guy.
Yes.
I agree.
So it's like, okay, man.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to knock them. I'm just saying that I think they represent a very vocal minority of revolutionaries.
Yeah,
like that's what they are. They're revolutionaries.
There's like 250 of them.
Yeah. They're a very vocal minority of revolutionaries. They get a lot of press. They do a lot of they have more of a footprint on YouTube and on all the tech sites, right?
Absolutely outsized footprint.
Absolutely.
But that's the power of
social media, of internet,
which is okay.
Everything. Right.
One thing that I also think is funny.
And having said that, like, if the Boogaloo did happen, well, I'm not going to join the fucking Fed Boy Stormtroopers.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm going to go in the woods with you guys.
I all wish they were in better shape.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be nice.
They have all their, tack gear and, their site stuff and everything down. I'm like, dude, you know what's going to prepare you? Running way more than you're doing right now.
Well, some of them do reject Gucci gear.
Yeah,
some of them do reject Gucci gear, and they're like, just get good with iron sights and run.
And
some of them do advocate.
I'm telling you, dude, get in. You want to survive? Run a 6-minute mile.
Yeah,
that's what's going to get you to.
No, I got to get better. My cardio is trash. I need better cardio. I can lift, but I got shit cardio. I need better cardio.
Get to 20 pull-ups before.
I can barely
before you buy tack gear, because I promise you that will be far more useful. But anyway, that's just me being an asshole. But I just see that shit now. I got guys strapped up with their big fat cheeks coming through this, coming through their straps.
But don't get me wrong. Yeah, I hear you, dude. I hear you.
I'm just a
donut operators.
I'm just a.
There's
actually a thing, or did you say that?
What
is that a thing? Or
there's an account called Donut Operator, and he has a great account.
It's funny,
but it's like I'm pretty sure. I don't know if
that's the joke.
I don't know if he started it or he took it and made it a joke, but it's hilarious.
That is
right. I don't know if he's fat either. They all redact their faces and shit because they're afraid of getting locked in federal prison. But this is like. I like all the philosophy.
So do I.
I like all the theory. I've read the books.
Absolutely.
I like the books. Not all of them. I usually buy the books and put them on my shelf until I get guilty.
Gay books is a very funny joke.
Yeah, is that right?
It's very funny.
But I also understand that like most Americans aren't plugged into that. And like you're not gonna convince them to be. They have shit. They have shit going on.
And also, like
and they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to.
That's what I was gonna say.
And like the principles and ideology of personal responsibility doesn't mean you need to fucking Jocko Willink your whole life. And wake up at 4 a.m.
I know.
And regiment yourself so you're reading, writing, working out, and taking pure, total harness responsibility of your life. Like it should just be enough to like wake up and go to work and be responsible for yourself and your family, and like do something that you enjoy and like be healthy and try to be happy, right? Like that should be enough.
Yes.
And I think what we find like more
it is enough.
I mean, it is. I think we find like that. Our modern society makes it very fucking difficult to do that. Right?
Yes. Sure.
And that the different ideologies all create like a different framework. For if you are worthy of their ideology.
Right.
And I think one of the problems
the gatekeeping.
Yeah, I think the gatekeeping. And I think libertarianism and anarchy has its own sort of form of gatekeeping. And it's
there might be the worst.
I think they might be.
They're probably the worst.
I think they might be.
Yeah.
I think they might be, followed kind of closely like by the left. Yeah. Because you just need to toe the party line with the left. They don't really care as long as you just say what they want you to say.
Absolutely.
And I think the right will just let anybody in.
Yes.
I really don't think they give a fuck.
Conservatives are way more tolerant than anyone.
They'll just let you in.
It's the whole thing.
I mean, obviously, if they're not letting you if you're a leftist, but why would you be in the right wing?
But you're not going to go there.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it creates a huge barrier to entry for like regular dudes.
Absolutely.
An example, right? I was away in the weekend. I actually recorded a bonus episode that I'm waiting to get. It was too big to email. So and my friend's a Luddite. So he's a vet and he's a cop.
Yeah.
So we did a super secret episode because he doesn't want to.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The fake names and everything for him. And
Romulus
when
and Remus.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So there was 4 of us up there, right? Or 5 of us, and it was me, 4 of the friends, one of the guys, his house. 2 brothers. They run a company together, and me and one of the other dudes went to college. One of them went to military. Now he's a cop. The other 2 dudes barely graduated high school, but they run a successful business. They do a tree removal and landscaping business, right? They work for themselves, taught themselves everything, right? Very much anti-government, very much working class.
Sure.
Trump voters before that, kind of libertarian, didn't vote, whatever. Right?
Sure.
And one of the days we're having a discussion about criminal justice, this and that, people in jail, and my friend's a cop, so, he's a cop. You can expect what he thinks about people in jail. There's not enough people in jail, and they're not in there long enough. Okay, dude.
Right.
And I'm talking with my other 2 friends who are, they're anti-government. They don't like the police, they don't like the cops, they don't like gun laws, they don't like drug laws, they don't like any of this stuff. But they have just accepted as a default reality that the state is the default way of doing things. And the concept of anarchy is chaos.
Right.
And none of this theory is going to resonate with them.
No,
it
can't.
And it can't.
They're not.
And it's not. And it's the principle of listen. You live in a society. And there are rules in this society.
Right.
And we didn't choose a lot of these rules, and I don't like a lot of these rules. But you just need to be responsible for yourself. And if you get and do your own thing and take care of yourself and your family. And avoid the police and avoid the government and try not to break the rules. And if you do break the rules, try to get away with it. And if you can't, you're gonna go to jail. And I said to them, don't you think that maybe you didn't get to choose to be in this society? That you were born into it, and you had no consent. When you turned 18, all the basic Rothbard,
totally.
all the basic Rothbard,
all the
Mises,
stuff we're super sympathetic.
All the the basic anarchist, libertarian philosophy stuff, right? And it just goes right over their head.
Well,
and not because they're dumb, not because they don't get it. They totally get it. They're smart guys. They do their own books. They do everything, front to back, the whole business. And it's not easy to run a business,
Definitely
right?
Not. No.
My other friend he's college educated. He did actuarial science. Now he's doing accounting or some shit. And they hear me. And they're it just doesn't do anything for them.
So it's very.
And then they say, well, yeah, sure, that all makes sense in theory.
So what?
So what? How does that make my life?
It's not real.
Or my grandmother's life. Because they take care of their grandmother.
Sure.
Right?
Obviously. Because they're.
Right?
How
does that make our lives any better? And how does letting hundreds of thousands of people out of prison, even if some of them shouldn't be there, make our lives any better? You know what I mean?
And it'll probably make things worse for a while.
In the short term. Right.
And I also agree with letting people out of prison.
Yeah, I do too.
I
absolutely do.
But that instinct is is the instinct.
And these are regular people who
who are sympathetic to you and who you should enjoy bringing onto your coalition.
Yes.
That's the person you should not be well, why the fuck are why don't you have a complete and nuanced stance on Zionism? And it's just because shut the fuck up is why.
They don't fucking care, dude.
Because shut the fuck up.
Because they don't fucking care.
Exactly.
And
what kind of weird, and for you and I who are like this, and, and I get it, and I catch myself with this shit all the time. It's because, it's if you pose a question like that you're trying to either guilt or make actionable the person you're saying it to, you're a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. I sounded like a fucking schizo the whole weekend. I sounded like a lunatic the whole weekend. And I always sound like a bit of a lunatic when I talk to my friends. That they've known that about me for 10 years, right? But I sounded extra fucking crazy. Extra fucking crazy.
Yes. Right.
And I think we need to find a way to bring these people together without having the intro message be the state needs to be dissolved. Even if we believe that. Because there needs to be some incremental steps for these people.
You sound an awful lot like a conservative.
Yeah,
that's what conservatism. That's what conservatism is.
I understand that, Dan.
You know?
and I understand the inherent flaw.
Yeah.
Like that people like Spike Cohen say is like government is the idea that all people are inherently corrupt, so we should take a few of them and give them power. Right. Like I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But I don't think anarchy is going to work for most people.
It can't work for most.
And I think the anarchists would say, yeah, it won't. But it's the only way to ensure liberty. And that resonates with me. But I care about people.
I know, yeah.
And call me a commie. I don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah.
I care about people.
Well, and I care about. I also, even if you want to not. Well, I don't think that makes you a commie. But
I know it doesn't.
Yeah,
but some of the more radical anarchy liberty people would say it does.
I care about it working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you can't. It'd be like if you want to be a martyr, like sweet.
And I understand the argument.
Go for it.
Yeah.
But like martyrs actually aren't that successful most of the time.
And
they're usually just dead.
Yes.
you know, like
and I get there's a very legitimate argument that the state poorly runs things like the DMV. All government institutions are poorly run. You wouldn't want them doing your healthcare. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. But one of the main arguments from the prominent anarchists like Michael Malice, who I love, and I think he's great. He's way smarter than fucking I am, right?
Good. He's almost as smart as me.
Yeah. Is when people say, oh, well, what about, this and that? He's like, well, we still have courts, we still have insurance companies, we still have private security firms.
Yeah.
Let me ask everybody, what's your experience been like with your insurance company?
Right.
Sure, it's probably been better than when you went to the DMV, but would you give it a 5-star review?
Yeah.
Would you give it an A+ rating?
Right.
If you were in the hospital, or I mean, not the hospital because that is who you call. But if you needed help, would you call your insurance company?
Right.
Like, do you think that courts and judges are your friend?
Yeah.
Do you suddenly think that now because they're privatized and paid better, they're going to like you more and help you more?
Yeah.
I don't. Like in my experience, dealing with private industry, although they are more efficient and provide a better product.
Right.
That doesn't mean they care about me anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they prioritize me over any of their other customers.
Right.
They're prioritizing their profits.
Yeah.
In the same way the government is.
Well, and these are all. I'd rather take a local. I'd rather take my town hall over United Healthcare.
Yes.
Yes. Like these are all degrees and scales.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like if I can go and I'd way rather go up and show up to town meeting than go show up to the shareholders meeting for Bank of America.
Yes.
Like what are we talking about?
Yes, I think the decentralized local governments would be a much better solution.
And I'll keep saying it because I think it's important and it's a good analogy. I'd way rather go to my zoning, to my town's zoning board and planning board meeting than show up at Amazon's annual meeting.
And there's an argument.
One's government. You're right. And one's private. Sort of. You're right.
And there's an argument to be made.
But to not say that as a libertarian is fucking retarded. That'd be one of the stupidest things
You're so right,
you could say.
You're so right. And there's an argument of, local governments can be notoriously corrupt, and there's nepotism, and people get in. Do you think you have a better chance of changing the Amazon board of directors?
I know, what are you talking about?
Do you think you have a better chance of changing a company's board of directors than you do your local town government?
What are you saying?
Are you fucking crazy?
I know, what are you saying?
So this is I've been grappling with this for weeks, dude. And I'm starting to lose faith in this new liberty movement because ideologically, academically, intellectually, it's where I feel like at home. I love this shit. I love this. Fucking burn the Pentagon. Disband the FBI. Destroy the national security apparatus. No gods, no masters, no kings. Liberty for all. I love that shit. But we always talk in this show about intellectual academic ideas versus pragmatic real world. Mm-hmm. I don't see it, dude. I don't see it. And I get it. The current statist model isn't working either.
No.
But are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
That's what they would have you do.
Are we going back to 15th century Southern Europe and we just have burgher lords doing merchant warfare?
Right.
Sure, it would be really cool if people from Switzerland and Austria could walk through Italy and do business without being attacked.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be cool if that burger lord decided to just kill you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that also wouldn't be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he doesn't have a reason to kill you, and maybe you know someone in your place that would make him mad, and it wouldn't be good for his free market if the traders in your country got mad because he was killing your people. Do you really think Amazon's going to give a shit?
Yeah, and, like, Charlie Manson is a thing.
What do you mean, like?
I mean, like, people
like the murderer?
Yeah. People don't always universally act on incentives, or people don't always the voluntarism, which is a good all of the things we're saying, good, understandably or understandable. It doesn't account for, the Joker.
Right.
Like, it doesn't.
Right.
Because that phenomenon, and again, this is my religious thing, right? Give me 1 second. This is my religious thing, right? Where it's like, malice seemingly has incentives. It's like, you're right. It's like, I'm going to murder you because it helps my bottom line, or it grows my influence, or whatever. And it's like, correct. But, like, disaster is a thing. Like, floods happen. Yeah. Like, bullshit and nonsense happens. And bullshit and nonsense happens inside people. Mm-hmm. And people act irrationally and fucking evilly, like, not all the time. Not as much as the propagandists would have us think. Mm-hmm. But enough of the time for us to not... We shouldn't be satisfied with throwing our hands up and being like, well, that's an anomaly. Most people usually only act if it fits their incentives. Mm-hmm. And it's like... People,
That's not true.
Have you ever been in, like, a bad relationship? People act to sabotage themselves all the time.
Have you ever been in a fist fight?
People act to sabotage their interests constantly. What do you think drug addiction is?
Have you ever been in a fist fight? Is there any incentive for someone to put themselves in physical, fatal danger over a girl at a bar?
Yeah, right. That's not rational.
That's not rational. That's not logical.
That's ridiculous and stupid.
Yeah.
What is drug addiction is ridiculous and stupid. All of this. So I don't. Where I think it comes. Where I think our paths are crossing is, it's like you're falling on the same ideological. You're falling in the same ideological pitfalls as the statists when you say that only benign incentives drive the interactions between human beings. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's stupid.
Yeah, I forget. Your boy, J. Jordan Peterson was talking. I forget some name fallacy, whatever. But when you presuppose your ideology in a problem-solving exercise, right?
Yeah, right. Yes.
And it's the same way sort of the left puts critical race theory and other things before they start solving the problem.
Yeah.
Is they've determined this problem is because of racism.
Yeah, right.
Now we're going to solve the problem using the racism as the predetermined reason for the problem.
That's what critical theory is.
Yeah.
And it's downstream of that is critical race theory. And James Lindsay does the best outline of what critical theory is. And I think critical theory was like is a French philosophy. It's all postmodernism.
Yeah.
But it's postmodern. I think it's a postmodern French philosophy. Again, so that's exactly it. It's like
Marx
there are a finite and relatively small number of presuppositions that apply to everything, right? Whether it's race or... So the postmodern one is power, right? Like, everything that exists is in a vacuum of power, or in the context of power. And what Peterson says, which is very appropriate, is like, that's true enough to make it attractive. It's like, yes, but it's also mostly false to make it extremely dangerous, and it's like, yes, there's, give it a percentage, it doesn't matter. There's 8% of a power dynamic in even the most benign relationships. There's a little bit of that. So what you do if you've given life to the critical theorists, and this is the problem with certain types of compromise, is with certain types of people, is when you give them enough rope to hang you. Not you give them enough rope to hang themselves, you give them enough rope to hang you. So when you say things like, yes, race and power dynamics have real-world manifestations that drive disparate outcomes, you've now given them the intellectual and moral authority to say that you are a white supremacist and therefore you must be eliminated.
Yeah.
So the problem with that from a game theory perspective, which also sucks, by the way, and I don't like, is we actually can't have the nuanced conversation from a... We can't have the nuanced conversation because they'll shoot us first.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you have to lie and say there is no underlying power dynamic, there is no racism. When that's also not true, but when you've armed opposition with bad intentions, and when you, on a game theory perspective, are not willing to use that gun in a knife fight, but they are, you die.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like...
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to necessarily deny that racism exists, just you can point out very clearly, you have no proof of this.
Yeah.
You have no your claims...
But you say this all the time, they don't care.
Yeah, I know that.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, that's true, but if you say something that you can't prove...
Yeah.
You're both saying something that you can't prove.
Yeah.
Whereas you could say, you can't prove this.
Well, and this is the we've talked, I forget how we phrased it, but we're revisiting it here. It's like I
just don't think you can beat lies with more lies.
So I definitely I agree with you, but it's like we have this, but if you take that to its most, even though it's noble, if you take it to its most noble extreme, it's like they're comfortable with lying and you're not, so you lose.
That makes sense.
That
makes
like
sense.
So you just never win.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's why Trump. This is why
that's true,
and it's why the Trump phenomenon is so that Trump phenomenon is so strong, because it's like, yes, Trump's a liar, but he's a liar. He's lying in the most noble way. Yeah. He's lying in the most, and that's strong for him. And I don't say, and when I say Trump, I almost always mean when I say Trump, I almost always mean the nationalist populist instinct.
Yeah.
That's really what I mean. It's, which is, I'm trying to think of the best example. It's like, when he says they're all murderers and rapists coming over from Mexico, it's like that is obviously, and in every facet of that.
Well, he didn't actually say that.
In every facet of that, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But all of the truth in there is that the result of the truth is the result of open borders means you're going to get murdered or raped.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Yeah, they just sentenced Molly Tippett's rapist and murderer.
They're either going to actually rape and murder you, or they're going to pull your job away because we've now flooded the labor pool, or they're going to pull your culture away from you and say that any type of Western Anglican blood and soil appreciation you have for your culture is evil and racist.
Yeah.
Not every single human being who comes over is a rapist and a murderer, but you will be raped and murdered at some point if you allow open borders. Yes. So it's like, yeah, Trump lied.
That's another.
Don't care.
This is another.
Don't give a shit. Yeah. Do not care. I'm okay with lying.
This is another big shift we're seeing, especially in young people in the right wing, right? We are starting to realize that our retired hippie parents, not mine, they weren't hippies, but our retired hippie parents, our retired beatnik parents, right, who were all peace and love and wanted to let in all the starving, oppressed refugees from all over the nation. Fuck the country up!
Yeah, absolutely.
You fucked the economy up!
Yep.
So, all of us young people who we all did what we were supposed to do, we all went to school, we all went to college, and no, we didn't get fucking gender theory and lesbian dance degrees. We got degrees in accounting and business and fucking biology and things that you can use. And then the economy is toasted, right? The housing market is ruined. Everything is fucked up. I mean, you bought a house. I'm going to buy a house. Yeah. You can still do it, folks. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
But young people, for us, people younger than us. I mean, you're your age. I'm almost 30, right? So people younger than us, the Zoomers are fucking angry.
Yeah.
They fucking angry, and they are very, very, very angry. And they are turning. They are totally turning against immigration.
I agree.
People our age.
We're on white pilled.
Yeah. They are turning against it big time. And this is another thing where the libertarians are going to lose. they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose big time.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to this like right-wing libertarian clash, we're gonna see over the next couple of years to see who can sort of harness this anti-Biden, anti-left-wing, anti-state energy. Right? Libertarians are gonna lose big time.
Absolutely.
They lost.
And if the question is if it's on the one hill where I'm gonna die, it's where my ideology and my practicality merge. Is like, no, open borders is fucked, you dummy.
Yeah,
you couldn't have picked a worse thing.
This is another example of how ideology and your gay books are gonna fuck you up.
Yeah,
because like I agree, the state throwing people in a cage for drugs or for guns or for whatever is wrong.
Totally.
But when you make, and I like a good example, like Reed Coverdale said, if you think people getting thrown in a cage for weed is wrong, but you think them getting thrown in a cage for going over an imaginary line is okay, you need to re-examine your philosophy.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
Yeah. Like no,
wrong.
Yeah, right.
Like,
could not be more
don't you
wrong.
People claim to understand economics?
I know.
Like, don't you claim to understand like how this market works?
It's
like, don't
one
you?
Of the dumbest.
And they're just
it's
like
so dumb.
It's like open border libertarians. I just don't get it.
Dude. I know.
Like, and it really feeds into what I was just saying, that I hate to sound like a leftist, but I really just don't think they don't care about people.
Yeah.
I really think it's a very like.
Oh yeah.
And people would say that that's kind of the whole point of liberty is self-reliance and independence, but like
that's so wrong.
I really don't think
crazy.
I don't think they care about people. I really don't. Because they're like, well, I have figured out my thing.
Yeah.
And I am self-reliant and I've invested in myself and I have my own stream of income and I do my own thing and I've harnessed my own potential. And if other people aren't willing to do that, and these immigrants are willing to work at McDonald's or pick strawberries, well, you don't want to work at McDonald's and pick strawberries. It's like, why do you sound like fucking Joe Biden right now? Mm-hmm. Aren't you supposed to be like against this kind of stuff?
Why are all these I'm making an assumption and I'm generalizing. Why are all these ANCAPs, libertarians, men and women single? They're all single.
Are they? I haven't.
All of them.
I try to stay out of people.
Dave Smith is the only one who's married with kids.
Josh Smith is the Break the Cycle guy. He has like 7 kids.
I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
But we
dude, we gotta get on camera because these guys are dorks.
I know. We
see guys are dorks.
We see this thread. I see this thread all the time, and it always goes back to our whatever it was, our 3rd or 4th episode, which is still my favorite. Which is, at the end of the day, like you have to run your personal life like a fascist. Mm-hmm. That's how you have to do it. You have to hold high standards for yourself and others. Mm-hmm. You have to surround yourself with others who hold high standards for you. Mm-hmm. You have to voluntarily buy into the discipline of your life and your family. And when you say things like, my actions control my world and my labor and my intellect and my whatever is the only thing that determines my destiny, it's like that is such an immature, not well thought out, lonely existence.
Yeah.
And to me, the way you exemplify it best is you should be the tyrant of your family. Mm-hmm. You should be the subject of your family. Mm-hmm. And that also changes over time. Mm-hmm. You should be the subject of your father. You should be the subject of your mother. You should defer your autonomy and your liberty to a degree to your grandparents. You should subjugate yourself to the infrastructure of your family. That's on the flip side, when you get older and more mature and have more experience, you should be a benevolent king. And you should be a tyrant at times. You should not tolerate the anarchy in your family. You should not tolerate the immoral Satanism in your circle. And once you do that, I'll go back to it. It's the clean your room. Like, cleaning your room is tyranny, but it's benevolent tyranny. It's benevolent fascism that you voluntarily participated in. And then you grow from there. Mm-hmm. You should be a tyrant in parts of your life. Mm-hmm. And having the live and let live thing just ends up with that fucking Pakistani immigrant coming in and raping your daughter and then killing you.
Yeah.
Like that's just it's like you're so open-minded, your brain falls out.
Yeah.
Like, and we see these ANCAPs and we see these libertarians.
Like, do you just want cheap labor? Why don't you just fucking come out and say it,
yeah.
dude? Why don't you just fucking say it?
Yeah,
at least the Koch brothers have the balls to say it.
Yeah, right. At least they're like
fuck, man. You're making me agree with Bernie fucking Sanders.
I know, absolutely. The way I've kind of articulated it is, it's like I want to be a voluntary fascist. It's like I want people to participate. I want people to and I know it's funny, and I say it to be tongue-in-cheek and be funny, because being funny is part of what we should do. Mm-hmm. But is like you need to willingly participate. It's like you need to show up and play by the rules.
Yeah. Here's the thing, people
what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And if you don't play by the rules, then everything sucks.
Yep.
And it makes it not, what I mean?
And also here's another thing, I feel like I don't want to give people the wrong idea, because if you are part of like a movement, if you're part of a party, if you're part of an ideology, like criticizing it should be like the best way to explore it, right?
It's the only way I know how to interact with anything.
Like, I don't want people to think I'm just like shitting on libertarianism and anarchy, because I feel like a anarchist and a libertarian and a conservative and a populist and all these things, right? But why do you think that bringing in hordes of people from the third world, do you think they're going to have your philosophy?
I know, right, yes.
Do you think they're going to read your gay books?
I know.
Do you think they know how to read?
I know, right.
In English?
I know, dude, it's madness.
Do you think they care? Do you think they care? When they watch TV and they see Kamala Harris say they're going to give them free health care,
I know.
Do you think they're going to come here and read Rothbard?
I know.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It's so nonsensical.
Do you think Somalis are going to come here and join the Mises Caucus?
It's like...
What? Do you think they're going to come advocate for school choice? Or are they going to get people on the school board that then advocate for teaching their ideas?
I know.
Do you think they're going to come in and they're going to start their own private charities?
Yes.
Or they're going to come in and take welfare and government handouts that they then use to get their ideas in the system? Are you fucking stupid? No, they don't care because they just want to leave the system. They want to pull as many people out of it as they can, and anyone who stays in the system to them is too dumb. Or too weak, or too bitch-made, or they're a statist. And everyone who is literally just a normal person living their lives is just not good enough to be saved. They just have to suffer in this fucking multicultural, the quasi-socialist hell that's being created by globalist capitalists that want it, well, not globalist cronyists that want to kill you, right? And like, if you don't get down with your fucking ANCAP boogaloo message, that you can just rot in your statist prison. Like, what the fuck? Do you care about liberty? Do you actually care about liberty? Or do you just want to do whatever the fuck you want? Because I like doing whatever the fuck I want. But like, I think about this stuff. You know?
So there's a story about this in the Bible, guys.
Yeah.
It's called the Tower of Babel. That's what it's about. It's about the fact that we're all speaking our own languages. And it's language, and really what the translation is really more, it uses language appropriately because language is so deeply ingrained in who we are culturally, and language is probably the best extension of our culture, because language, and this is where it gets so weird, and where again the postmodernists have like a very small point here, is even the way language is not just like, see means yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Language permeates deeper into how we experience the world. It's why Germans have words that mean in-depth phrases. Schadenfreude is a word that means the phenomena of being like embarrassed for another person. You know what I mean? Like that's one word that has within it a deep entrenched phenomena, and what the Tower of Babel said or described was the fact that we had people, you basically had men, central planners, try to create a utopia, economically driven utopia on Earth by pulling all of these different cultures and all of these different people together to serve under this utopia of Babel. And it turned into hell and bullshit, and everything burned down, and the Tower of Babel fell because culture and language and interactions can't serve at the altar of it's basically a false god. You know, that's the whole point. Is like, we tried to create man's unity on Earth to challenge God, to basically say, like, God is wrong. Yes, of course we can pull all the people of the Earth and we can basically challenge God, and how we, like, stronger together, multiculturalism, and God's like, okay, and then basically let them do it, and it all fell apart and burned to shit, and they all killed each other. And it's like, duh, it's in the Bible. They talked about this 2,000 years ago. They realized this shit 2,000 years ago about how multiculturalism, and they use the analogy of language, because that was the whole thing, is like, people are trying to talk to each other, but they don't know what the fuck anyone's saying. And what happens when you don't understand, and what happens when you don't have congruent cultures, is you fucking murder the fuck out of each other. That's what happens. And it's like, you can't, and the ultimate thing, which I agree with, is you can't have man beat God. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it. Like, you can try. You can think, you can, like, try to fit all these puzzle pieces together. Like, go for it. You can try to fit all this shit together. But you know what's going to happen? You're all going to burn to the fucking ground.
Good luck.
You know? And it's like, all of that stuff. Is it, should it work? All these, but wait, and the Tower of Babel was actually built. You know, like, it stood for like I don't know what it is in the story, but it stood for like a year or whatever. Like, because academically and on paper and in all your gay books, it works. But you know what happens? It blows the fuck apart way faster, and you know what happens? People die. You know, and people get collateral damage.
Dude, look anywhere else.
It's in the Bible! Like, the Bible talks about this shit. You dummies. And like,
go. You don't have to look in a fucking history book, dude. Look anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, and let's do a fucking little thought experiment for everyone who thinks we're just being racist white guys, right? Let's go to Africa. Let's go to Africa. Let's ask the lefty. Why do you think the Hutus and the Tutsis murdered each other? Well, they were just different cultures and different religions that lived right next to each other, and when you bring them together, they have all these differences that they can't really reconcile.
How can you be... I'm sorry, not to interrupt. How can you be against colonialism and for multiculturalism?
I don't get it.
What do you think colonialism is?
I don't get it.
Colonialism,
well, if you tell them this...
Colonialism is multiculturalism, so you dumb fuck. So what are you talking about?
Not so much the retired age hippie liberal parents that I referenced earlier, because they're kind of just like checked out and they watch CNN and they don't really know what's going on, right? But the young leftists would say, yeah, how do you like it? That would be...
What do you mean?
When you say that about this is just colonialism, this is reverse colonialism, they'll say, yeah, it is. How do you like it?
Right.
How do you like it?
Okay.
White people are getting colonized now. How do you like it?
Got it.
And they know...
Well, I didn't like it then either. I'm not defending
Well, no, they will they think you do.
Right.
That's the thing with critical theory is that me and you...
I understand.
Like, by being majority white people, right? And existing in a system of, air quote, white supremacy, we are benefiting from colonization.
Right.
So you do like it. Even if you personally don't like it,
you're right.
You've received benefits from it. So by not fighting against it,
good point.
You do like it. So now, how do you like your own medicine?
Right.
And this is what like the far left would say about that. They think it's a good thing because they literally hate white people. And they want you to suffer. Right. And they want your children to suffer.
And blood crimes.
It's exactly. It's generational guilt. Right. And they've been propagandized to think this exact thing. Right. You can go all the fucking Indians and Pakistanis have been killing each other for hundreds of fucking years, dude.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to go that far. The Muslims and the Hindus inside of India have been killing each other for hundreds of fucking years. Right? Like, you take people from different parts of the world, or even in the same parts of the world, who think differently and live differently, and you force them together, they're gonna fucking kill each other. And like, the American experiment, the melting pot, worked because we had a cohesive national identity.
All completely.
And it has been slowly eroded.
And it's why...
over time.
And like...
And the people eroding it have now crafted a new identity.
And they also do it on purpose.
And
it's why, like... And again, here's the thing, you know, libertarians and caps. You have a very very good intellectual, academic, philosophical, ideological argument against, the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. You have a really fucking good argument.
Sure.
Man. You're at the argument. I'll even go ahead and say, you have the right argument.
Yeah.
Your argument is correct.
I was the asshole in high school who didn't do the Pledge of Allegiance.
And your argument's correct.
Yeah.
But guess what? If enough people stop doing it, and enough people and further, when you trained enough people to disdain it, do you think whose outcome would you rather live in? Would you rather live in a relative? Would you rather sacrifice 5% of your ideological purity to salute the flag and the ideals that sit behind it, or would you rather have the Tower of Babel?
I mean, to be fair,
I would rather have ideological. That's what I would rather have.
In this hypothetical, I'd agree. But I don't think they started doing the pledge till like the 50s, right?
Well, that's okay. But that's a pretty good time to do it.
Well, I'm pretty sure they started because of Cold War. I think that's why they started doing it.
But I don't necessarily default to hating the fact that it can be recency bias.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in times when when we had high levels of immigration from a multitude of countries, they were all European countries. When we had a high level of immigration, we didn't have a pledge, and we still had this idea of America as like a melting pot.
Definitely. Oh no, and I'm not arguing that the pledge makes you patriotic.
Yeah,
I'm arguing that the fact that there is a bit of that you choose to subjugate yourself to the ideal a little bit.
Also, I subscribe to the idea that like our message of we're an open for the bring me your weary and tired, which that's also a recency thing, right? The guy who wrote that poem by the fucking Statue of Liberty, that's fucking recent too. That every time we opened our borders for tons of poor immigrants, it's because we had shit we needed to fucking do. We had railroads we needed to build.
We needed to exploit the hell out of
and wars we needed to fight. And fucking factories we needed to fill. It wasn't because we were fucking really fucking nice and wanted to let in a bunch of poor people and make their lives better. No, we had forests to cut down and railroads to build and shit to do. And not enough people to do it with.
Well, and we also are. I'm okay with. Oh boy, that so like.
I mean, they got stuff.
Yeah, they got some really fucking good stuff.
They got stuff.
They got the best stuff you could imagine.
Well, maybe not the Chinese. They didn't get much.
They
didn't really get much.
But you sacrifice that to ensure that your legacy becomes your children's birthright.
Yeah.
And now you...
I mean, to be fair,
would an American.
Would they have worked in better conditions in China?
It would have been way worse.
Would they have? I don't know, but I imagine that it would have been equal or worse. I imagine it would have been equal or worse.
It would be and it would probably be worse.
And you probably wouldn't have been allowed to go to the general store and buy a revolver.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you wouldn't then be able to fucking vote.
Yeah.
Or then be able to, own
Were Chinese allowed to vote in the 1800s?
I don't know the answer.
They might not have been.
I don't know the answer, to be honest with you.
I have no idea.
But their children were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like where would you rather live? Like if you're whatever Han Chinese, would you prefer I forget if it's Eastern or Western. That's worse. Probably I think it's Western is worse. If you're like Han Chinese, like would you prefer that your great grandfather worked in the mines, or would you prefer that you fucking stayed in China?
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure they'd be pretty happier in San Francisco. Like as shitty and terrible as San Francisco is now, I'm pretty sure I'd rather be there than fucking wherever the fuck they are now.
I think you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I go, like I get it. Like that's tough, and like again, Thomas Sowell. Only no solutions, only compromises. But
I think the just to go back to what we were started out on, I think that the Liberty Coalition doesn't have a cohesive answer to young people and disenfranchised old people, specifically men.
Yeah.
For our loss of national identity.
Yeah.
They don't have an answer. Right. They have gay books.
Yes.
That's what they have.
Why do you think...
That's what they have.
I have to mention...
And they don't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
And look out throughout the span of human history, what happens when you have millions of disenfranchised men who feel like they have nothing to live for?
Yeah.
Who are unemployed, who are unmarried, who have no purpose.
Yep.
What happens?
Yeah.
War!
So this is where Peterson. Why do you think Jordan? I have to bring him up every time. Why do you think he's so fucking popular?
Yeah,
it's because he's not and he said it. We named one of our episodes. I think.
Yep.
It's responsibility, not your rights are like stupid.
Yeah.
They aren't stupid, but
Either,
they're really important. But at the end of the day, you know what's more important is responsibility. Yeah. Responsibility is way more important. Yeah. If you had to choose your, now you have to have both. I know you have to have both. Yep. I know you have to have both. But if you had to choose one to live a meaningful life, would you rather choose the cross you have to bear and the sacrifice you have to make, or would you rather choose your rights?
Yep.
Like, your rights are going to be fucking stupid and meaningless, and you're going to die alone.
As someone who is not as much of a Peterson stan as you, and someone who's not as religious as you, right? I feel, when I sit around all day arguing on Twitter and writing articles and reading gay books and talking about theory and jacking myself up about the state of the world, right? I feel much worse than when I work out and I call my mom, and I go to the grocery store, and I make a nice meal for me and my girlfriend, and listen to music, and we dance, and we go outside, and I play with my cat, and I tend to my garden. I feel much better. I feel much better. And that's not to say that you should ignore like these big problems, because you have to pay attention to them to be like an informed part of the electorate, right? Totally. To like make a change. Yes. But if you neglect the other stuff, you're gonna be dead inside.
I know.
You're gonna be a husk of just anger and resentment because I get like that sometimes, right? Like everyone gets like that. You sit around your house, fucking it rains for 3 days, like it has on Memorial Weekend, and you just stew. You just stew in the juices of fucking news and social media and gay books, and you're just so fucking you just want a revolution. And then you fucking have a beer, and you fuck your girlfriend, and you're just like, what was I fucking so jacked up about, dude? Let's just go watch some bad TV or something for an hour and go to bed. Dude. Fuck this, dude.
I say it like too much, and I do it in like a patronizing way sometimes, and it's like snarky and shitty. But it's like what I think and say to people, and I just need to say it to myself too. But I say it to other people who get all whatever on the internet or elsewhere. And my wife hates, but I'm like, just like relax.
Yeah.
And that is like patronizing, like bullshit, and it's very
women hate that.
Women hate that. Oh my god, there's nothing that is more skin crawling. I could say that I cheated on her with her sister, and it wouldn't make her as upset as me saying relax to her. And I get it, and it's sometimes it's shitty and snarky, but you're right. It's like, guys, what are we talking about here? Like what? Like, why do you assume fulfillment in your gay books?
Right.
It's like a weird, and the other side of what I would say is you're just reading your Bible.
Yeah.
This is just. Wealth of Nations is just your Bible. Mm-hmm. So the idea, and so the idea, but Wealth of Nations doesn't talk. Your Bible doesn't talk about the things that make you happy. At least my Bible talks a little bit sometimes.
I mean, it is important
about the things that make me happy.
It is important in terms of like spreading their ideology in an informed manner, and like
totally.
And like a lot of these guys,
I read a ton of gay books.
I do too. I read gay books all the time.
Right.
And it is important so you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Absolutely.
But like, you need to get your message to regular working class people.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah. Could you imagine talking about like agorism to like Mike Bunzel?
No. No.
Like, what the fuck? Like what?
What? Can you imagine I go to the Lucky Dog and start talking about anarchist theory, dude?
Yes, I know.
Like what?
I know.
What? Like
I couldn't convince a bar of 17 people.
Yeah, to do that.
To do this.
Like these.
You're gonna take over the government?
No.
What are you talking about?
Like their best case scenario is like a slow crawl.
Yeah.
In states like New Hampshire and Texas and Florida and all these other states. But here's the problem. the states where you might have traction, like Florida and Texas and more, they're already red.
It's not the problem.
And these red states are going to go more red. And they're going to go more DeSantis. They're going to go more Abbott. They're going to go more hardline culture war red states. They're not going to be. They're going to say everything we said right here. They're going to say that. They're going to say, well, what are you doing about immigrants and trans kids? What are you?
And it's also.
And they're going to give them some ridiculous academic answer about open borders and the economy and how, well, the immigrants aren't really the answer. The federal government could go after employers, which is true.
Yeah, sure.
But that doesn't matter to the guy who lost his job to illegal immigrants.
Correct.
That doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Doesn't matter. That doesn't matter when you say, well, everyone's entitled to love who they love. That doesn't matter to the guy who got a video of his kid being taught about masturbation in the first grade. Like just happened in the Dalton School in New York City. Right? So like, that doesn't matter. So they can slow roll this if they want. They can slow roll it through states, but it's going to take you so much time. Like what happens in the next 2 to 8 years? Like what happens in all the other states that you can't slow roll your Mises takeover in the next 2 to 8 years? What happens when all the other libertarian nerd parties block you like in Pennsylvania? And now I understand that, 180 days are going to pass and they're going to steamroll them in Pennsylvania. But there's the capability for that to happen everywhere else. So best case scenario, Mises surprises both of us and we fucking eat our words. I think that would be great. I think that would be fucking awesome. And I would vote for them.
Happy to be wrong.
I would happy to be wrong. Unfortunately, I see them doing the same thing libertarians always do, which is getting single-digit numbers, and they cheer about it, and they talk about how great it is, and they talk about how much better it's going to be next time,
and then they make fun of Ron DeSantis.
And then they make fun of Ron DeSantis.
And I'm like, what? You mean the guy suing people for vaccine passports?
And
that guy?
And they're not.
You're really gonna plant your flag against that guy?
And they're not gonna pull voters from the Republicans, from the Democrats. They're gonna pull voters from the GOP.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't like the GOP.
I know.
I don't fucking like them.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. No. I
don't vote for the GOP.
I know.
I don't fucking like them.
I know. Yes.
But what that's gonna do is it's like I just see
they're gonna have a corpse again.
They're gonna have a corpse.
You're gonna have another corpse.
And what that's gonna do is the next time around, the Zoomers who are gonna be our age are gonna be even more angry. And they're gonna be even more desperate. And they're gonna be even more bloodthirsty. And that's when someone really scary shows up. That's when a real fascist shows up. That's when someone shows up who says, no, we're not just banning trans kids. We're banning gays from federal employment. No, we're not just banning immigration. We're deporting people. No, you don't. It doesn't help to just close the door to your house if it's already full of hobos. You got to kick out the hobos. Like that. Not just ending foreign wars. Isolationism, which I actually think is a good thing, but could be disastrous in the international spectrum. Like that's what will happen, or could happen. I won't say will definitively. But if you prop up a corpse for the next 4 years, and you allow the Democrats to just keep doing what they're doing, they're gonna fucking put the pedal to the metal. Because as we see, they have no qualms about it. They have absolutely no reservations about doing whatever it takes to get more power. And that's gonna remove any reservations the American people have for voting for a real extremist. They already voted for Trump, and he wasn't an extremist.
I know, and
he was not an extremist. The only reservation they had is he's a buffoon. That was the only reservation. He's a rude buffoon who doesn't have political experience, and the left's antics were enough to get the American people to overlook that. What do you think happens in 10 years when this accelerates? When this accelerates, and they have no option. What are they going to do? Are they just going to hand over their kids? Are they just going to hand over half of their paycheck? And then one day, for no reason at all, people elected Adolf Hitler. For no reason at all. Just out of thin air. All the German people just decided they were evil monsters that wanted to kill 6 million people. Oh
no! They were sick. They were sick of getting fucking pushed around.
No, they knew he was
shit end of the deal.
They knew he was crazy. They knew he was going to do crazy stuff, and they said, "You know what? Fuck it. This is our only chance."
Absolutely,
and they were wrong, and that's what happened.
They were wrong, and it was, and what you're saying, I believe, is you have to compromise on the instincts that we share. Less you will receive a nightmare outcome.
If you want to play,
you will have a nightmare outcome.
If you want to go down the purity spiral, we can go down the purity spiral.
And it's a spiral.
It's a spiral. You're not going to like where it ends.
It's going down.
You're not going. It either ends with fucking Democrat socialism or right wing fascism. That's the only two places these go.
Big time.
That's the only place it goes.
Right. Yeah. You continue to have you, and again, like unity has to be. This is what's so interesting. It's so difficult. It's why I asked you. What was it? Thon? Who was
Tho Bishop?
Tho Bishop. It's why I asked you about Dave Smith and his reaction. I should watch it.
Yeah, I gotta watch the whole thing. I watched like the first 10 minutes.
I do think he's okay. Dave Smith did a pretty brave thing in the.
I watched Dave's whole breakdown of DeSantis' thing, like why he thinks it's not good.
Yeah. Dave did a pretty brave thing in the unity space, even, which is he gave a lot of credit to Tucker, and was like, "Hey, do you realize we can't hate Tucker? We can't because you know how important it is to have an anti-war talking head on Fox News. Like that is so massively important." And he also said, for all of Trump's flaws, Trump was extreme, and he's totally right about this. Trump's best and most lasting legacy, which you should vote for Trump again if he runs again theoretically, is Trump made it okay for conservatives to be anti-war, and everything else. You can even be pro-drug war. You can even be and
if anything, it was in opposition to his bad picks, Bolton and stuff like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's
it made conservatives more willing to disagree with the GOP officials who were pro-war.
Exactly. So that's why I really respect Dave, is because I think he got it, and that's why I'm very interested in was he sympathetic? I don't have a good. I guess I'm gonna start calling it sympathetically disagree. I don't have a name for it. Whatever. I just made that up. It's I sympathetically disagree with atheists. And what I mean by that is okay, so I vehemently ideologically can't stand drag queen story hour.
Yeah.
There is no compromise. No. That's just the end.
No compromise.
I can sympathetically disagree with atheism. Those are two things. Now, what I think the libertarians are doing, even when they say unity, is they say, I'm sympathetically disagreeing, but then you bring up, I do think, and you'll probably disagree with me on this, I do believe in Israel's right to exist. I am a Zionist. I don't believe in propping up and sending foreign aid to Israel. I don't believe in I don't believe in AIPAC. I don't believe in the Israel lobby.
Yeah.
Having said that, I am a Zionist, and I believe in the blood and soil argument of Jews. But I say that to someone who's supposedly pro-unity libertarian, and it's see you later.
Yeah.
And it's
you're out, dog.
What the but didn't you just hear me say that I don't believe in AIPAC or American aid to it? And to them it's no, I didn't hear. They actually didn't hear me say that.
Yeah.
And they actually didn't even hear me say that. So I'm
free Palestine.
So I'm you can't right. So I'm you can't you can't say unity and not mean unity.
Yeah.
Why am I the only one who can actually mean unity? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think you agree too. You know what I mean? And this is we're the best fuckers. But our fucking show is so much better than everyone's. Is you and I hardcore sympathetically disagree a lot.
For sure.
On a ton of shit.
Oh, for sure.
This is unity. You and I is unity.
Yes.
And it's a better example than literally anyone else I can think of.
Yes.
Yes. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, man. They need to fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
They need to fucking figure it out. And obviously the answer isn't to throw in with the GOP because they're not.
It's not.
I don't expect them to do that.
Absolutely.
I would never want them to do that.
And
I don't want to do that.
And they shouldn't.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah. You know who they should though? Maybe I'm wrong. You could talk me out of this.
Yeah.
The Matt Walshes of the world.
Yeah.
Don't you think that they should Matt Walsh
they could never jive with his culture stance.
I know, but they have to. And I say to you for this reason.
Yeah.
The best example I can think of, although there's more than this, is there was that tweet from the official kind of GOP Twitter account that was like, mothers are hit disproportionately because they couldn't go to work.
Oh my god, dude.
And Matt Walsh And Matt Walsh was great. He was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, fuck you. Like, women are not just some cog in your Koch brother
fucking
neocon.
The thing you've been talking about for fucking 50 years is that women should be at home raising families.
Correct.
And now you're talking about the worst thing about the pandemic is they couldn't go back to work?
Yes.
Are you fucking crazy, dude?
So to me, it's like, why don't... Like, you should see Matt Walsh. And again, he does his huge threads, whatever, of like how fucked up and evil that is. And he was great and pulled no punches and was just like, this GOP sucks.
I think...
And it's like, guys, Matt Walsh has 600,000 Twitter followers. Matt Walsh, all of the people who like and identify with Matt Walsh agree with you 70% of the time.
Yeah.
That's your coalition.
Yep.
It's right there. It's right there. That's him. It's him. I'm looking at him.
Yep.
It's him.
Yep.
You know, like he's a great, you know what I mean? Like, and I'll even say, it's like, guys, there it is.
Yep.
That is unity.
They won't.
You hate 30% of it. This is what I'm talking about. You hate 30% of it. You have to unify with 70%, you dumb fuck.
Culture war is real.
Stupid.
War is real.
And
here's the thing, if we could all just agree...
My Israel takes pretty nuanced.
No, your Israel... I mean, we're on the opposite sides of that, but the thing we agree on... Stop sending the money! Stop sending the money!
And that's all you need.
That's it. Stop sending the money. I don't know. I wake up every day. I wake up every fucking day. And,
This is a great episode.
Yeah, this is really good. I wake up every day.
We're so good at this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I wake up every day, and, I have my own apartment. I stay with my girlfriend a lot of the time. She lives in, like, a nice little farm town. But on each side are terrible cities. Yeah. Democrat run for 50 years. Right. They used to be nice port cities,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And they used to be full of industry and manufacturing, and they fell apart like every fucking city in America, right? And now they're filled with opiate addicts, right?
Yeah.
Terrible. It's horrible. It's awful.
It is awful. It's truly awful.
It's really bad. I feel terrible for these people, and it's mostly white and Latino immigrants, right? There's not a huge. That's really the only population. Mostly white, Portuguese, and different Latinos, right? And I wake up every day and I do my grocery shopping there. I go to the gym there. I do like all my other daily activities there, right? And I see just like widespread poverty, like widespread suffering, like people in Walmart paying for their groceries with SNAP and EBT.
Yeah, right.
And like I'm not trying to knock welfare at all, but just like it doesn't matter what color, what age,
it shouldn't make you feel good.
What gender, like like everyone is struggling, like in these places, right? Everyone. And it makes me, and then I go on the news or I go on Twitter and I see this year's $4 billion loan to Israel that's immediately forgived. And I see this $2 billion going to this country. And I see all this money going to all these shithole countries in the middle of nowhere with corrupt regimes that fucking genocide people.
Yeah.
And it makes me fucking furious.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry.
Yeah. Right.
What does it make you feel?
I know. Yeah.
Like, how do people wake up in good conscience and go on their YouTube show or their radio show or their Twitter account or their corporate news show and talk about how great it is that we give this money to Israel?
I know.
Regardless of if you like Israel or you hate Israel, whatever it is.
Right.
You wake up and you fucking get in your car or get in your bike or get in your limo and you drive past the fucking homeless camps. And you go to the grocery store and you see people whose credit cards are getting declined and you think, let's send fucking $4 billion to Israel because they have a right to fucking exist.
Yeah.
Dude, you're fucking nuts.
I know. Yeah.
You're insane.
Absolutely.
People are starving. People are dying.
Yeah.
Like, people can't afford fucking insulin.
Right.
And we're sending all of our money. They're stealing 40% of your money.
Yeah.
And they're sending it to other countries.
Everyone.
People you'll never meet, who don't know your name, who in many cases want you dead.
Yeah, hate you.
Who hate you and want you dead.
Right.
Who think you live a privileged imperialist life.
Yeah, right. Yes.
And you show up every 2 to 4 years and you vote for this.
Yeah.
It should make you furious.
Yeah.
It should make you furious. And instead, you go on Twitter and you yell at each other about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah. Right.
You don't go and you don't yell at your representative.
Yeah.
You don't yell at your senator or your president unless they say some fucking shit you don't like you can make a meme about.
Right.
Like, why are we arguing about who was there first 5,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Why aren't we arguing about why are you fucking taking my money and giving it to them?
Yeah. Well, and my point is you can use the map. So how to bring this back to unity is you can use a lot of the instincts of the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
You can get a Zionist pro-Israel person to still reduce the impact and size and scope and scale of government to the degree that you would actually make meaningful impact to people who that would result in actual meaningful impact. And it's like, if I had to, again, Matt Walsh is probably Ben Shapiro is obviously a Zionist. But who would you rather...
Let's say that hypothetically we had $4 billion. And let's say that hypothetically we gave it to Israel. And let's say that hypothetically we structured it as a loan. That way we couldn't oversee it. Because if we gave it as a grant, we would be able to oversee where the money went. And let's say that hypothetically we allowed them to spend it internationally instead of just domestically. And let's say that hypothetically we forgave that loan immediately so that way they didn't have to pay it back. And then let's say that hypothetically they took that money and they bought U.S. bonds. They then got paid off the interest of your tax dollars. Because I'm Ben Shapiro and I'm a shill and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
So here's my point. Would you rather live in Ben Shapiro's world or Joe Biden's world? Whose would you rather live in?
I mean, Joe Biden gets chocolate chip ice cream.
Who would you who would you rather, and I'm not, this choice isn't,
I mean, it's the same world, Dan.
It's not, though. It's really not. Because...
How?
Because all of the underlying infrastructure outside of direct payments to Israel...
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to give for whatever the fuck the number is to Israel because we'd have a flat tax. That's the point.
You think we wouldn't give money to Israel if we lived in Ben Shapiro's world?
The point is that
we'd give more money to Israel if we lived in Ben Shapiro's world.
Fine. Okay. Here's how I'll say this.
We'd give way more.
How about this? Let's say we give. Fine. Let's say we only give money. Let's say we give for whatever, I don't know what the number is. The number is $40 billion.
We'd probably have a fucking Israel tax. Every citizen would probably give 1% of their income to Israel if Ben Shapiro ran America.
I'd rather have a flat tax and not give any money to anyone else and only give it to Israel. That's what compromise is. So I'd rather give no money to the United Nations. I'd rather have no Paris Accord. I'd rather have no climate. I'd rather have no Green New Deal. I'd rather have a flat tax. I'd rather have no drag queen story hour. I'd rather have no transgender bills. I'd rather have all of that shit. If my compromise is I'm giving money to Israel, I'm willing to make it. Even though I don't want to give money to Israel. This is not a perfect analogy. It's a really flawed analogy.
Do you think...
Things don't work that way.
Do you think...
I'm asking in the hypothetical that Ben Shapiro
do you think the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center would be okay with them getting rid of Drag Queen Story Hour and all those other things that you just named?
Well, this is my point is if you have a Ben Shapiro presidency, there's no federal funding for them either.
They don't need federal funding.
There's no infrastructure for them either.
They don't need federal funding. They have plenty of funding.
I know.
They don't need federal funding.
I understand. Fine. My point is all about... I'm not talking about actual practicalities. Okay. I'm talking about the compromise.
Yeah, light switch, magical, hypothetical. Yeah, correct. Sure.
My point is we are saying that, I don't want Ben Shapiro and I don't want Joe Biden, so I'm going to not play. And when you do that, Joe Biden wins.
I see your point.
So it's like, that's dumb. I'd way rather... I want the devil I know than the devil who hates me.
I see your point.
Ben Shapiro's still the devil. And I agree with you. I'm not an AIPAC. There's a guy...
I just hate the lesser of two evils argument. I hate it.
But that's... Okay, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what unity is. Wrong. That's sympathetic. Again, I'm even now here. I'm the only person who's like, why is it just me?
I don't know, dude.
Like, why is it only me who can actually disagree? I totally hear you. I disagree with the creation and the American Zionist project. I totally disagree with you.
Well, I mean,
but I'm willing to live with that evil. I'd rather live with that evil than that evil.
It goes way beyond the last 20 years, man. It goes back fucking 80 years, dude.
Fine. I will put it to this. Ben Shapiro closes the borders and gives $40 million to Israel. I'd rather take that guy.
Well, yeah.
So this is what we're talking about. Like, that's what compromise is.
If I could have every single thing I fucking wanted, and the only thing that happens that I don't want is Israel still gets money, yeah, I guess.
That's the preposition. But we won't even get there.
No, we won't.
Because people aren't even willing to make that. You have to be willing to give up something. You can't. That's what compromise is.
I see the point of
You're
this
not
exercise.
Noble.
I see the point of this exercise.
If you know what I mean? Like, it has to hurt.
Yeah.
It's only working out if it's fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
You're not working out when you go for a walk. You're working out when you try to run a 4-minute mile. Because it's fucking hard. And you have to give up something in order to get it. That's what compromise is. We say we want unity, but you're a fucking liar. Because you don't want unity. You just want everything you want. And you want to make a better argument about how to get it. That's not... You don't want unity. Wow, I'm smart. You don't want unity.
You're humble,
you want to make a better argument. Yeah. That's what you want. You want to use the intellectual and academic gymnastics to make your debate preposition superior by saying things like, well, I don't like Trump either. By saying things like, well, actually, I'm also not a Zionist. And, or saying things like, well, I also believe you're falling into the same trap that the ideologues on the other side do. They don't want compromise, and neither do you. So you can't ask for compromise if you can't participate in it. And what I'm saying is you have to participate in it. Now, any of these one examples are stupid, and we don't live in a world where it's binary. You know what I mean? Like, we don't.
These are silly hypotheticals.
We don't live in this world.
But you're making a larger point, compromise is hard.
Absolutely.
It's hard,
you
have to do things you don't want to do.
And you have to,
I see your point.
And you have to give it up.
I see your point.
And when you put these in stark, hard terms like Israel or like what for other libertarians it would be immigration.
Right.
It's like you would say. We have to get to the point where libertarians say, I hate that I have a border, but I get it that we need it.
Yeah, we abolished the ATF and the DEA and the FBI, but we have closed borders.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, I get it that you hate it and it makes your skin crawl. Like, atheism makes my skin crawl. But I get it.
Yeah.
I think that it leads to poor. I think the epidemic of listlessness and malaise and rights, not responsibilities, stems from atheism. But I'm willing to compromise and say that as long as you have enough principled humanistic atheism, like, I'm okay. Like, fine, I agree. Okay. It's not that I will compromise for you. I don't think we should live in a theocracy. I should take that back. I do believe we should live in some form of theocracy, but I get that I can't have that.
Yeah, you don't want to force it.
Okay. Yeah, and it's okay. So it's like I see, and I know I pick on them. I see like the Reeds of the world who are like unity, but if you have any Zionist bone in your body, see you later. Yeah. It's like that's not unity. What are you talking about? Yeah. Like that's not it. Close the we cannot close borders. It's like, well, you're not gonna. What are you talking about? And this is why I make the example of Matt Walsh. And the best one, Ben Shapiro. Hey, look at that following, man. He's got fucking 2 million Twitter followers. You know how many you have? Your dick is rock hard for 1,500.
Yeah,
it's like
for sure.
Find the compromise, and you know what you do? If you were really, and this is where the archaic, the Austin Archaic Skids guy, I think gets it right about me. I don't think my actual impact is like, you know what you could do? If you were willing to you could have the conversation. You could stop calling Ben Shapiro a Zionist shill fuckhead and say, okay, Ben, like, I don't agree with 4 billion. I actually want it to be 0. Could I convince you to get it to 3.5? And the answer is, if you probably could.
Could I
you know what I mean? Like,
could I get you to maybe structure it as a grant so we have some oversight?
Yeah, correct.
Could I maybe
something like that?
Maybe something to where they're not just taking the money and buying bonds and making interest off of U.S. tax dollars. Mm-hmm. Could we maybe get it in a more transparent way that isn't preying on the American taxpayer?
But you have to talk to do that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You know where? No, I'm not. I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth.
Shapiro also won't debate people on Israel. He won't.
You're probably right.
I'm just using
and
not just like if we're using someone like Reed who's smaller. He won't debate like Nick Fuentes, who's probably the biggest alt-right person, right? He won't debate anybody. Yeah. And when
is Nick Fuentes bad, by the way?
I mean, he's kind of alt-right. Okay. I mean,
I'll probably like him.
You might. So I don't agree with a lot of what Fuentes said. The first time I saw him was because he went on the Groypers. Yeah. First time I saw him was because he went on Dave Smith's show. And he's been on Smith's show a couple times. And Dave Smith's thing says, listen, I've gotten a lot of calls to not platform him. I don't agree with him on most things, but I'm going to talk to him.
That's why I like Dave Smith. He seems to sympathetically disagree.
Yeah, and Fuentes is the big guy behind America First. Right?
Oh, okay. Really?
There's a few people behind it, but I'd say he's probably the most influential in terms of America First.
I thought that was like a Charlie Kirk thing, but I guess not.
No,
I could totally be wrong.
He's Turning Point USA.
Okay.
He's Turning Point USA. Yeah, Nick Fuentes doesn't like him either.
Right.
So Fuentes sees Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro as sort of corporate shills. That they're not America First. They are backed by big money donors, and they're backed by AIPAC and the Israel lobbies, and
probably agree with that.
Fuentes makes a lot of good points about how American politicians, government, and big business lobby do not put America first. They put other international interests first. Now, where he veers off into very controversial territory, which gets him in a lot of trouble and makes his message a little less palatable to people, is he taught, and this is one of the things I don't agree with as much, although he does have some nuggets of truth in there, is he talks about anti-whiteness in America and shifting demographics. He has come after Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, and they've refused to debate him, and they call him anti-Semitic, and he's just looking for attention. He's a troll. He's a grifter. He's this. He's that.
That's stupid too.
It is stupid.
And I don't love Ben Shapiro. By the way.
No, I don't either. But people like Fuentes are becoming the more prominent voice of white Zoomers who feel that they are being demographically replaced, while their leaders are exporting their jobs and their tax money overseas to people who hate them, right? Yeah. And he's tapping into the anti-white feelings of a lot of young people.
If you're not going to be okay with Rand Paul, you're going to end up with Nick Fuentes.
That's correct. And the kind of ideology that people, and I'm not trying to say that he's a fascist. I'm not trying to say, because that's what the people on the left say about him, is that he's a fascist, alt-right, white supremacist guy. I don't think he's that dangerous, because half of his movement is not white. He himself is like a white Hispanic. He's like half Mexican or something, right? Half of his movement is like Indian or black or whatever, right? And it's America first. It's not white first. It's not the not the National Justice Party, which is an actual neo-Nazi organization. You know what I mean?
I do know it.
But it's goofy. It's a little goofy, and it's not something that I would get behind, and it's not something that I would organize for, and it's not something that I would campaign for or be comfortable like advocating for.
Right.
Because it's a little, it's a little racist. As a mixed race person, I'm uncomfortable with it.
I mean,
But you got to know what everyone's saying. You got to know what everybody's saying.
The deep if you're so retarded.
If you're gonna have like a nuanced discussion about like immigration and race politics in America, and like how like the young people are reacting to critical race theory and economics, like you need to listen to the Nick Fuenteses of the world. I think he's a very good representation of angry white Zoomers who feel betrayed by their nation, right? And like you can call them white supremacists, you can call them fascists, you can call them whatever you want, but like there's what they're feeling and talking about is real, and you can call them as many names as you want. They're not going away,
and you can also
they're not going to go away.
And we're on white pilled is like you do see people like time is interesting. Time is always a variable. It's like people are not just X. People change and evolve. And people...
I mean, I follow him on Twitter. I like what he says sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and
then I don't like some of the other stuff he says.
And the more you talk to people, and the more interactions you have, the more civilized people become, generally. And if you had a... I'm trying to think, if if Thomas Sowell spoke to Nick Fuentes, and like, even if they didn't talk about anything about race, and I'm not even saying like Nick Fuentes even like hates black people.
He doesn't. No,
you know what I mean?
He doesn't. I may have characterized it too strongly. It's really him just saying they hate white people. They're bringing in a bunch of non-white people.
Well,
this is the whole point. That's kind of what he says.
I wonder, because there's some things that I like, and I'm still gonna probably put words in his mouth too. But
I did too. I definitely did. I'm not like a huge fan of his. I don't know his whole ideology.
I don't really know either, obviously. So Kevin Williamson, who's at National Review, who's again like he's kind of similar to Jonah Goldberg, who I always talk about, where like he's more neocon than I'm comfortable with, completely. But he has a good kind of running theme throughout a lot of his work, which is like we kind of have this idea about like American culture, and when you say American culture, you're trying to talk about like, well, American values and American culture is, you know, Carmel, Indiana, or like Sandusky, Ohio, or whatever. But Williamson's thing is like Brooklyn is as American culture as the Heartland.
Yes.
Like, and it's where like Ted Cruz got it very wrong, where he was like, oh, you know, this maybe in the context he was right, but the meta context he was not right. When he was like, whoever it is, maybe he was talking about Trump actually. He was like, oh, Trump is like New York City values.
Yeah.
And what he meant by that is like New York City's not America, and it's like New York City is very America. And the way I've used this in this context is, and like, you know what, as much as we hate it, like San Francisco is America. You know what I mean? Like these, so I think we should become less like that. We're becoming too much like that. We're trying to popularize it, and the media propagandizes that is more of America, and they forget about
the rest. The problem when they take these enclaves and try to push them on the rest of the country.
But the point I'm making is like, and also where I think people make this like America first thing is like, you know what's like entirely and almost exclusively Western America. Well, what's American? Like rap music is exclusively American for all intents and purposes. You know, the NFL, like black professional athletics, and I know that, whatever, but you know what I mean. Like sports American culture is a black American driven industry.
Yeah.
You know, hip hop is a black American that's American.
The Europeans were all salty when we used black athletes in the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean,
they were all super salty about it.
I mean, and so what I say, and it's funny. So I sent you that thing about that fucking. It's like the most racist thing I can think of.
Yeah.
That fucking African beauty thing.
Yeah.
It's on Reddit. It's under like pics. It's totally astroturf. Like no human being posted that. Like just flat out. And it's some attractive black woman in like fucking whatever red, green, whatever the Africa colors are, in like a bikini, holding a zebra. Like that is the most ferociously pandering, patronizing. Like this is and the quote or whatever was like African beauty, and it's like. That's blackface.
Yeah.
Like, that's a person doing blackface.
Well, like, it's
this Disney, Disney Plus or whatever, which we got rid of and said, this is an evil, awful company. I'm not going to participate in this. Has this whole, like blackosphere thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's like, we're talking about people who've lived here for, like, they have no connection to Africa. What the fuck are you talking about? This is...
Well, 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, they would have had that same picture, but it would have been a woman or a man in an office building in a suit in the capital of Nigeria. And it would have said African beauty.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it would have been demonstrating that.
Right.
You might think that everyone in Africa lives in the desert and has a zebra and wears traditional garb, but they're people just like you and me. And maybe they might wear that stuff when they get married. Maybe they might wear it when they go to their home. But no, they are a fucking accountant and they have a real job and they're part of the normal world.
Yes.
You fucking What do you think? They're fucking tribesmen savages? Like,
yes.
What's wrong? Are you racist?
Yes.
And now,
it's crazy,
now you can't do that. Now you can't do that because in the world of critical theory,
that's
if you put that girl in a pantsuit and put her in an office, why are you trying to make her white?
Yeah, like
because the progressives are so racist, that they've taken Western success and Western business and they've said, well, only white people do that.
Yes.
Well, only white people do that. Only white people have individualism and being on time and working hard and being good in business and entrepreneurial skills and all that stuff. So if we have a black, why are you trying to make the black people look white?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the kind of shit that like if you were a smart young black person, they'd say, why are you talking white?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, it's the most like fucked.
It's so fucked,
and,
dude.
And it's perpetuated by white liberals.
Absolutely.
On Reddit.
It's
perpetuated by white liberals on Reddit.
Like African beauty. I can't. It's and it. You know the whole fucking thing. You know, 20 billion in awards and this whole. I'm like, dude, this is the most patronizing.
I don't even go on Reddit anymore.
This is the most patronizing,
I can't even go on that
evil, backwards bullshit I have ever seen. You know, like I can't. You know what? Like what, dude? Like, and so how I bring this back to the Nick Fuentes potentially is like, dude, American the black experience to use a shitty term like is American culture, man. Like it is like jazz and fucking I don't know black businesses.
I don't know, dude. We fucking brought you all here against your will like 200 something years ago, and you've been here since. So
you're not going back.
You're part of America. Yeah. I think it is the American experience.
And like we want you around.
Yeah, I don't.
And like
anyone who says they're not part of the American experience, like you're wrong, bro.
And all of
you're wrong.
And all of the not all of it, but a lot of the influence you have like is really good.
Yeah.
And like we want all of this shit.
You
know what I mean?
So to double back to our whole anecdote, so my mom is she's black, right? So she's black Italian, and my grandfather was a black guy from the South who was descended from escaped slaves and Seminole Indians that fought against Andrew Jackson in the Seminole Wars.
Hardcore.
So these were fucking escaped slaves with no birth certificates and Indians being genocided, hiding in the swamps and shooting at people. So like, tell me I'm not part of the American experience, Nick Fuentes.
Well, but
like,
exactly.
Tell me that, please.
Exactly.
I don't know if you would or not. But
I know,
like,
but
whoever would, please tell me that.
Right.
Please try.
Exactly.
Please try.
Yeah. Right. Right. And that stuff where it's like, like again, the whole,
I can like the fact that nigga threw a fucking whiskey and cheese party that Andrew Jackson having to get evac from the White House. I can think that's badass. And also think he's a genocidal maniac that my people fought against for like 20 years. Well, you know what I mean? And I can think both of those things at the same time.
And it's like, I said the whole like, hey, we're scared of the Pakistani guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Earlier, which is funny and whatever. But it's like, who I'll really take is like the Pakistani immigrant who believes in America, wants to be an American, wants to teach his kids English, wants to teach his kids about entrepreneurialism, wants to be here and believes in the values and believes and is excited. I get it, and I know voting, and we talk about the anarch, whatever, but who's excited to be like I voted, because in Pakistan, like it's fucking not like that.
Well, that happened when
I want that guy way more than I want fucking.
That happens when we have a strict immigration system.
Yeah, like that
happens when we have a strict immigration system.
I want that guy, and I don't need that guy to. I also don't always and only believe in the argument where it's like, hey, we only want like skilled labor, we don't want to flood, whatever. So we only want like doctors and lawyers. It's like I'm fine with plenty of blue collar working class immigrants, but what I want from them is you come and start a business. That says a lot to me. You come and build here. What we can't, like the refugee thing is bullshit. The asylum seeking is it's like that even from an arguments perspective is ridiculous. It's like if you are gonna come here, no, you don't have to come here and be a doctor, but you don't have to come here and or you're gonna come here and just as long as you it's not that hard, man. It's like you can't come on here and go on welfare. It's like that's pretty much it.
They're starving and they're in danger. There's starving people in danger on the streets right now.
Yeah, right.
They're here right now.
Yeah.
There are people in trouble right now, outside your door, right now.
You can't come and be on. I mean, it's pretty fucking like simple, and I get it. It's like kind of Newt Gingrich, like whatever bullshit, whatever. But it's like if you come here, and you're on welfare in the first 5 years, it's like, you gotta go. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I don't think that that's like a crazy thing to be.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't like even I don't.
I think
not how it works.
I think right now with how fucked up the economy is, that's a difficult sell because.
But like, then you can't come here.
Well, yeah, I'm Dan. I'm for
you can't come here.
I'm for an immigration moratorium, which is a pretty radical position, right? So like I'm for like a full fucking wall in an immigration moratorium because it doesn't matter, like you had just touched on, like, oh, only have skilled immigration, because they abuse that with H-1B1 visas.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
They abuse that with H-1B1 visas where they bring people in on school, right?
Yeah.
And they get 3 years of free work for them on school, and then they get another free year of work from them while they wait for their paperwork to go through. Right? So like they abuse that with H-1B1 visas. So it doesn't matter if they're skilled or not, right? And like our economy just cannot sustain these people. It can't happen. And the pathos argument from the left of these huddled, starving masses that need help, that are going to get killed. I don't fucking care. People are dying every day in the streets outside my fucking house, dude. Okay? Outside your house, outside everyone else's house, okay? I don't care about people in Somalia. I don't care about people in Pakistan. I don't care that the things that we did 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago caused it. I don't give a fuck. You know why? I didn't vote for it. I didn't do it. I wasn't in the dark, smoke-filled rooms while men in cigars decided to bomb people that I never met. Wasn't there. I didn't decide to give them 30% of my money to start wars in countries I can't pronounce. I don't care. And you know who else didn't? The homeless guy. The guy who signed up when he was 17 because he couldn't fucking afford a meal to join the military, and then when he got out, they abandoned him. He didn't decide to do that either. Okay? So, like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Fix the country first. Fix America first. Then maybe we can worry about bringing in Somalis and Pakistanis and Mexicans. Then maybe we can worry about that.
I mean, all of these things come from a humanitarian perspective.
That's it.
They really do.
Cool. Your feelings are really fucking cool. They're just as cool as your gay books.
Well, the thing is,
how about we fix the problems?
Well, and what I mean is, you can't help anyone if you're fucking sick.
That's it, dude.
You can't help anyone if your house is falling down. You can't help anyone if all of your resources are completely tapped. You can't help anyone if you don't have it. You can't help anyone if you don't know what the word means to help. You know, like why are we going to bring all these people? So I'm going to bring all these people here to be on welfare and live in a slum and be totally complicit in what the government's idea of a life is for them. It's like, that doesn't sound much.
They want a serf class.
They want a serf class. I'm going to take you from like.
They don't want to help.
And I get it. Whatever. Like, I'm going to take you from Juarez and put you in South Chicago. Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to take you from fucking Somalia.
You have free healthcare that me and you pay for. That's the difference. That's the difference.
But you're still going to get fucking shot anyway.
Yeah, and then our tax dollars will patch them up.
That's
the difference.
But it's like, I get that. Yeah. But my analogy point is like, we're not helping you if we're just going to... I want to flip it on your head. I'll flip it on your head. How is it helping if I'm going to take you from third world Mexico? There's first world Mexico for the gangsters and the cartels. Then there's third world Mexico. We're going to take you from third world Mexico and put you in third world America, which is fucking South Chicago. The south side of Chicago.
Chicago.
Philadelphia. There are parts in Philadelphia that are fucking third world. Like, period, end of story. And that's where they're going.
Plenty of cities in America.
You know what I mean? And that's where they're going. So we're not even doing you any fucking favors. This is like, what do you even mean? Anyway.
Clean your room, America. Clean your room.
2 hours is good.